Hey everybody, Sean from The Good Dog, and this is the lovely Laura Morgan, and
Ooh,
power
happened.
Cool.
You guys
We're
are
back.
good luck.
Back to the lovely Laura Morgan, and this is episode, what was it, 29?
29.
Episode, I'm going to write this down, just get episode number 29, guys. We're hauling butt, and we're headed towards, we're headed towards like a year's worth of episodes, so that's like, we're over the hump. So
Over the hump.
We're jamming. All right, question number 1 is going to be from Maria Malone. If you want to read that, I'm going to fix that.
Okay. Question number 1 is Maria Malone. She says, hey guys, I like everything I've seen on your page so far. I also have a boy that needs training. He's leash reactive and it's getting worse and worse even though we thought fixing him would help. He is 16 months now and we fixed him 2 months ago, but not much has changed. In fact, he's getting more reactive. We can't afford to have him react like that. He's 100 pounds. And doesn't trust anybody when he's restricted. I don't want him ending up hurting anybody. I think
It's a long message that you kind of have to
Yeah. Let's see.
Basically what I got, if you want to see my upshot, is that she's got these issues and she's trying to decide about what's the pros and cons of the differences.
Boot camp and
benefits.
in-home.
Yeah,
okay.
And she's messaged a couple times. We haven't had a chance to get back to her.
Okay.
I actually was going to see if you wanted to answer this because you're the one who you do all the lowdown scoop with all this stuff. So she wants to know, like, I think it's a common
Basically,
question. Is there like a downside for board and trains? You know what I mean? Like, does the client not get enough time? You know what I mean? And all that.
We have concerns that the boot camp training won't be as effective and will get our poor guy freaked out. Not only being away from everything he loves for 2 to 3 weeks, but being forced to trust and follow people he doesn't know. Okay, so this is a great question, one I get on the phone all the time. So, like Sean said, I'm gonna jump into it.
I'll start time.
Basically, with the boot camp, with any situation like what you've got like some leash reactivity, you've got some fearful stuff, I think, of strangers, and maybe some like issue with people,
Yeah, she says it's getting worse and worse.
Yeah, so anytime like a 16-month-old dog, especially that has like human issues and it seems to be getting worse, that would only be a board and train for us. It's just not something we're going to subject Brittany to, and not something that a one-on-ones is effective for, especially because a lot of the times with one-on-ones, it's like a pinch hitter, you're like, you're dropping in, you're kind of like, okay, I'll do what I can with the time we have. And typically it works best when you just have like silliness on the leash, or dogs being kind of like barky or nutty, mild. Yeah. But when you have dogs that have some serious either anxiety, fear, or anything to do with humans, or serious dog aggression, getting them in for a 2-week program so that the trainer can really like pattern for one thing, but also really get to know the dog. Because there's also that assessment part of it, if you get a good trainer on board, where they're really going to be like, okay, you know what, your dog is actually just having some trouble because he doesn't have structure, or no, your dog's seriously dog aggressive or seriously has issues with humans that like needs to be addressed in a firm way. There's so many nuances.
Sometimes you won't see it. Like, so Laura brings up a great point, that sometimes if you don't get to, I see it all the time when we're spending time with dogs, and I'll report to you, I'll be like, what we saw yesterday? Something new that we haven't seen, So by having a dog in a board and train situation where we live 24/7 with them, we really get an opportunity for real insight into a lot of different moments that maybe we wouldn't see in a one-on-one, and maybe even the client doesn't know about. So that, to me, is a hugely valuable one, like you said, for assessment purposes, but also problem-solving purposes. So the way we structure things, the way we put it together, like Laura said, is we do more mild stuff. They can be problems, but we do more mild stuff for the one-on-one, and board and train is reserved for the stronger, more intense behaviors where we need more time with the dog. We need to control every moment with the dog, and we need to be able to assess and work through all those problems and leverage every moment, because one-on-ones, you're going to be doing 90% of the work. Brittany would be doing 10% of the work, and the problem is that you're typically, with more problem behavior dogs, you're not equipped to see them all the problems, and then how to actually address them in a positive way that's going to create the change that you want to that you want to get from your dog. So I think we both find that, I think a lot of people have that same question. Our board and train is going to be like, the dog just gets trained, but then the dog comes home and we don't know what to do.
Yeah, and that's a big, huge part of it too. We'll wrap this up, but basically the biggest part of it for us is the homework that we give the client and the follow-up work that we do with the client. So if the dog is just trained and sent back to you, that's a problem. So make sure you do your research, whoever you decide to train with, wherever you are, that you find some place where, someone who you talk to them about what the aftercare looks like and how it is moving forward, because there are board and train places, astonishingly so, that actually just, you come pick up a dog and they go, yep, he's great, all right.
He's all trained.
Yeah, and it's like, well, what do I do? But, so definitely do your research on that, and if you do need any help finding someone, we're
I think
happy
she
to.
wants to. She's talking about dropping him off with us. So she's actually, I think she's in San Diego, I think, and she's actually considering doing a board and train with us.
Oh.
So
Come do a board and train.
yeah,
We have great fall.
Yeah, but and so you were getting an honest assessment from Laura. She didn't even know, she hadn't gotten to the part that you wanted to do it with us. But but what I'd say is contact us rather now that you have this information.
Yeah.
And then Laura can better help you understand the ins and outs of the programs and kind of help direct you. The board and train, in my opinion, is where the magic's at for heavy duty stuff, and we will train your behind off to where you really know what to do with your dog. We absolutely make sure that you go home highly skilled and highly trained. We have several sessions set up. We don't to where you get almost as much time working on the dog as far as like with us hands-on as you would in a one-on-one, so there's not that much difference.
Question number 2 is from Heather Sears. Heather says, hey guys, my question this week is this. I have an opportunity to take Izzy to a board and train. The only one I can find close to me is still an hour and a half away. My issue is they don't like e-collar training, but they do prong collar training. Would it confuse her to stop the e-collar training for those 3 weeks? We're having a few issues at home and I just can't get a hold of and need a professional to help me work this out.
Okay. I almost called her Izzy. We actually know somebody on a Facebook forum named Izzy. Heather, how are you, lady? Good to hear from you again. So personally, my response is that I wouldn't. Knowing that you've done e-collar work already, you've already got some really great leverage and a great handle on a lot of behavioral stuff. What you'll find with prong collar work, even though I'm a big advocate of it for a lot of things, is that you're going to find a lot of limitations, because psychologically the dog is going to know when you're close to the dog, when you're not close, when you can correct, when you can't correct, and that's going to cause pushback and cause different kinds of behaviors, rather than being able to sit across the room and your dog's doing something you don't like and being able to correct from here, and your dog goes, oh, no matter where I'm at in the world, mom can correct me, and so I'm going to really inhibit those choices that are negative choices and make better choices in the future, versus she's got a leash and prong on me and I have to go wander over and go correct, and your dog, it changes his behavior when you get there, or just gives you naughty behavior because he knows you have to come up and correct, and he doesn't really care about the prong collar. That's another part of it. A lot of dogs, for serious stuff, things that really get their goat, the prong collar corrections aren't significant enough for them to even change behavior. So it bothers me that somebody would be anti-e-collar.
That's another thing about it, is that you've got such great training on board already with just what you've done and like the work that you've put in. And now you're going to go work with people that aren't as informed as you, basically. Because we all know that e-collar training is great. So if someone's making the blatant statement of, oh, I don't like this thing, then either they've done research on it and hopefully done a lot of work with it and decided they don't like it as a training style, but probably more likely they've just believed the hype and then they're not informed, and you're probably going to be smarter than them. So
yeah.
I would be really cautious about who you get into bed with. Also, send us an email or, what are the issues? Like, we're here for you. Come on, man.
Let's work through the issues for one. If you want help working through the issues, if you feel you need a professional involved, and sometimes you absolutely need somebody on the ground, absolutely. Send us an email.
I feel like Maureen cheated, honestly.
Send an email to us and let us know exactly where you're located if we don't already know that. And we'll see if we can find somebody for you. If you're going to spend some money on a board and train, unless it's free, we can probably find, we've got a host of balanced trainers that do really great work all around the country and out of the country. So let us know where you're at, and maybe we could fix you up with somebody. Another alternative, and this isn't to drum up business, but people send dogs to us all the time. So if that's something, I don't know what your budget's like, but if you're talking about doing a 3-week board and train here with those folks, I don't know what they're charging, but you could do a 2-week board and train with us or someone
Or
else if
you
had
could
some
come
dog,
out
too.
for an extended weekend and work with Brittany one-on-one to work out your issues.
Yeah, unless you're like in New York, I don't know. how
Yeah,
far away
but I
she
mean, you
is.
could come for a California vacation.
Yeah, people come out and spend 3 days, 4 days, working on their dog out here. They'll come down from San Francisco or, farther than that. So there's a lot of options. I hate the idea of you like getting in bed with a trainer who doesn't subscribe to things that you've already found to be really useful. But that's not
Just
because
sounds
that's not sour
disempowered.
grapes from us.
No.
That like, hey, if you don't use an e-collar, it's just as somebody who works with a ton of behavior problems, I just know it's the best tool going for that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd hate you to like take a few steps back and
Yeah.
all that. So email us if you'd like, and we'll see if we can like. And there's no pressure about us doing, ourselves. I'm just throwing that out
see
there.
us.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. But because some people don't even realize that we do that, but we get dogs sent to us all the time. So where was I at? Just.
Yeah, just let us know. Email
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, sorry. Just email us and we'll see if we can hook you up with somebody. And then as for whether it would confuse your dog, it's a different methodology. It might create some confusion, and I just don't think it's going to be the best thing in both your interests. So thanks.
Okay,
Leah
question
Kenny.
3. We've got Leah Kenny.
Yep.
She says, here's my predicament. Any of my friends and family who know and have met my pit bull, Harley, would tell you he's a great dog. He's 5 years old, unneutered, obedient, happy, friendly. However, in the last 6 months, he's gone to super dominant and pushy. He will not play with dogs, even the ones he gets along with. He humps everything. He's not aggressive, just hyper like a 5-month-old puppy or something. He is now being aggressive towards female dogs. Right off the bat, face to face, just attack.
Yeah, bad stuff.
Once to a mastiff that caused a full-on fight and kicked his butt.
Don't
But
pick
also,
a fight with a mastiff.
yes, but also to a smaller dog that he's on leash around because of the implications could arise from the altercation.
Right.
Nothing has changed my routine from him. The only thing that brought this on is the fact that I bred him for the first time ever last year.
It's all sauced up now.
I'll muzzle him if I have to or neuter him. I'd like to think there's another way.
Okay, so real quick, Leo, it's actually interesting that your dog's 5 years old, and I think she said 6 months ago or something
Yeah.
like that started having this come out. Typically, it's between a year and 3 years that we see this stuff manifest. So, what I mean, like adolescence going into maturity, and you see dogs' behavior change a lot. So that's an interesting one. I was gonna say like, well, how old's your dog, and then I saw the age thing in there. I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So whenever we have behavior that changes pretty precipitously, pretty rapidly, I would definitely check on the physiological side of things. So the first thing and easiest thing, and it's not very expensive, is to contact Hemopet. And I think it's hemopet.org. Contact Hemopet. And I would want to run a full thyroid. Don't go to a regular vet. Don't go to your local vet because they don't run thyroid tests in the same
Not
kind of
the same
exhaustive,
way.
comprehensive fashion. So contact Hemopet, tell them what's going on, and that you would like to have them analyzed for any thyroid issues or other possible blood issues, right? First and foremost, because when you get something that comes out of the blue like this, kind of a peculiar thing.
Yeah.
If he was age appropriate, I'd say, oh, maybe that's what's cooking, but I'm not so sure that that's what's going on. So the second thing would be to check in, has he had traumatic incidents in his past? Maybe more recently, where he's been beat up. I know you mentioned something about a mastiff, other dogs, anything like that, where he's starting to lose his trust in dogs and starting to say, you know what, I'm just going to be the big chief, the sheriff in town, and kind of just be proactive and hand everybody's behinds to them. So that's another part of this that we see. When we see behavior changes, we see physiological, we see experiential stuff like trauma, stuff like that. Or age-specific stuff. So neutering, I haven't seen neutering do any kind of like dramatic stuff. It might take the edge off a little bit, might reduce some of the intensity, some of the humping stuff, might cause other dogs to be less interested and less tense around him. That can be something that could be a component with that. And then if you find out that he doesn't have any physiological stuff and if that's off the table and we don't know that he's had any trauma outside of the Mastiff, but the Mastiff could be enough to be a component of this, then it's train your butt off time. Then it's get your dog into, like, I know he's already done obedience training, but you need, like, behavior mod. Then it's a different thing. Then we need to teach dogs about how to behave appropriately around other dogs. Very different than just obedience training. So obedience is all just the regular commands, but teaching dogs to make good choices around dogs where they want to make bad choices, behavior modification, is a whole different kettle of fish. So that would be my next thing. Get the physiological off the list. Make sure he's got a clean bill of health with that. And if he does, then it's training your butt off time. And if you need help, email us if you need help finding a good balance trainer in your area.
Go to our website.
That can help you. www.thegooddog.net. You have a list of trainers in there, right?
Yeah,
Nice work. Yeah. So that's my recommendation to you.
Okay, question 4. This is Joanne Treadway.
Our own Joanne.
Our very
Treadway.
own Joanne Treadway. She says, hello, Sean and Laura.
Hello.
Besides continuing to work on being golden with e-collar foundation, do you have any specific exercises that further address a dog who can sometimes react by biting a visiting dog, even after cohabitating peacefully for hours or days? Sometimes I think it's fear-based, sometimes resource guarding-based, and sometimes, as Forrest Gump would say, sometimes things just don't make no sense. Based.
Ain't that the truth?
Do things like spending time in neighboring crates or wearing a muzzle while interacting help or hinder? I've seen exercises using randomly thrown handfuls of kibble on the ground for dogs to share. Any opinions on that or techniques to fine-tune? The tools I have are prong, e-collar, muzzle, dressage with crates. I always try to advocate and feed separately, and e-collar correct any signs of evil eye exchanges. I have seen progress, but want to work on reliability. I appreciate any of your specific insights or experiences, especially concerning the originally out-of-control Manny becoming a peaceful space-sharing, spreading the love dog to all the bad to the bone board and train
If
cases.
only you could see him over there lounging. Okay.
I think she was talking about Oakley.
No, I think she's talking about Manny because she knows Manny used to be kind of a nutty guy and, like,
Really?
I think so.
This peaceful space-sharing, spreading the love dog?
That's Manny.
I know, I'm just saying that.
There's pictures. There was just a picture of Manny and Cole lounging together, and I think Joanne commented on that as well. Okay. Yeah.
I was thinking Oaks.
Okay, so quick thing. I love everything you're doing. You're doing great work. What we're talking about here is starting to create some inhibitions about bad choices, right? So you're doing a lot of good foundation work, but your dog is being snarky in selective moments. Excuse me, and if you're advocating for your dog and the other dog's not being a jackass and the other dog's being polite and you're advocating, then it comes down to, like, now we need to create some different different choices for your dog or different responses, I should say, for your dog in situations that maybe they're feeling empowered, snarky, nervous, whatever it is, and say those choices aren't on the menu anymore. So what I would do is long line. I know you've got a muzzle. I would make sure that you muzzle condition. I don't know if we know the dog's name. Muzzle condition the dog. If you need help with that, there's Josh Moran's video. Just look up Josh Moran muzzle conditioning. And because we want the dog to wear the muzzle and feel comfortable and stable and not stressed out so we get a normal response. Mm-hmm. So what I would do is I would do that muzzle conditioning first. Maybe you've already done it. Then I'd put a long line on, then I'd put an e-collar on, and then I would put the situations, set up the situations to see what kind of trouble we get. And when Sir Snarks-a-Lot gives some kind of, like, nasty response, he gets a major correction. Because if you're doing all the foundation work and setting up boundaries and advocating and making sure you've got a non-chaotic household, and then your dog decides, like, I don't like the cut of your jib and I'm going to go put your lights out, that's not allowed, right? Mm-hmm. So that's e-collar all the way turned up, and that's press and hold for a couple seconds when a dog launches into something negative like that. Mm-hmm. The muzzle keeps everybody safe, and the long line makes sure that you can manage the dog and pull the dog back. Now, if you're worried about the other dog retaliating, then you need a long line on that dog as well. And if that dog's a serious customer, then you got to muzzle condition that dog too if you want to really, really be careful. But basically, you have to create an inhibition. I mean, it's simple stuff, right? Do this behavior that I don't like, that's dangerous, and a major consequence happens. Pair it right, and the dog goes, ooh, there's that thing I don't like, but I'm going to make a different choice. Mm-hmm. So in your response, like what happened with Manny, Manny came on the scene, a bit nutty, not a lot of rules, and freewheeling, and he actually bit Belle once over a ball, early on. and she's still got a scar on her nose. And so what happened was I happened to be there right at the time when that happened, and he got a major consequence, and he's never done it again. And so that trickles out to not just Belle, but to other places where he knows, wow, man, when I'm, because he was just being snotty. He's like, this is my fault. And he's just like, I can bite you. No one's ever told me not to. And so he got a foot tap. And I'm pretty good at those, and so I made sure that was effective for him, and he never did it again. But those kind of things are really hard for just regular dog owning folks, so use your e-collar, muzzle, long line, set up the situation, and when Snotty Pants does it, let him have it, and it's going to be ugly, it's going to be noise, but that's how you create inhibitions like that, where the dog goes, I don't want to do that anymore. Cool, great, and then you can start to work through where he's actually around dogs and being polite.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
No,
Seeing as
that's
I'm
good.
sounding like the big bad wolf over here of
What I love,
big corrections.
No, what I love is just like you've got like all this badassery going on. Like, should I? Oh yeah, I got
Me?
dressage whips. No,
Oh,
Joanna. Well, you too, you too.
I was excited. For
But
a moment.
Joanna's like, yeah, I got dressage
I know
whips,
she's
crates,
got a plethora
muzzles.
of-
Yeah.
She's, I
like
just
a
pictured
dog
this like
trainer.
cabinet. She's like,
Yeah, exactly.
she's like,
Or a coat.
should I? Yeah.
So that's cool. But yeah, I mean, I think just staying on it, it's also, just finding the right level, finding the right type of pressure that works. And then also,
And I would make sure that pressure is extremely high.
yeah.
It's not a
It's
dilly
not
dally.
like a wearing over time sort
Yeah,
of
if you
thing.
underwhelm the dog, then that behavior will just continue to go
Mm-hmm.
on. So it's ugly, the dog's going to make sound, but what you'll find is that typically the dog won't do the same behavior again. So that's...
Question number 5. This is from Katie Puskovsky.
Ooh, nice pronunciation.
Pliskovsky. Pliskovsky.
Oh,
Hi, Sean and Laura. I noticed in your before videos that dogs you work with that you will sometimes walk your pack past the crazy leash reactive dog aggressive dogs. Your guys stay completely calm and don't react. When I walk my pack, they're fine with non-threatening dogs, but dogs on and off leash start reacting or barking to us. My crew starts to focus in on the dog, put their hair up, and sometimes bark. It's kind of like when water starts to boil. If I correct the first one of my guys that starts to focus on the dog, sometimes I can prevent it and change direction or something, but I'd really like my dogs to be calm no matter what vicious dog is barking at us and charging. Should I use the pet convincer on my dogs at this time? So should I add my dogs? I should add my dogs do not react to non-threatening dogs.
Okay, great. All right, so Katie, so as far as my guys, it took a lot of work. They didn't just come that way. Like we were just talking about Manny. Manny used to be a knucklehead. Junior used to be really, really reactive. Oakley, he passed away last year, but Oakley was terrible. I mean, him and Junior would go after each other. Oakley would be on his hind legs. He was like 90 pounds of like big bad news stuff. And all I did was go out and work on it every single day, right? I mean, I'd go to the park and walk counter where other people were walking their dogs, and I just worked it every single day to where my dogs learned that reactivity wasn't going to be tolerated. So I wasn't even using an e-collar. I was using prong collar stuff, which was hard. So it's a lot more work and probably took me more time than if you're using an e-collar. I don't think that Katie is using, an e-collar. I don't think she mentions it.
Yeah, no.
So if you want kind of the extra or the pro tip in there, the pro tip is to go to, prong collar. Is she talking about prong collar right now?
She didn't. No.
Yeah.
She talked about the pet convincer.
So first off, I don't know what you're using, but tools are so important to being able to transfer this stuff and get something really great happening. So prong collar at the very least, but we use for dogs to come in with reactivity prong collar and e-collar, and we do e-collar heel and all the other commands like that. And then you can use the e-collar for correcting for escalation. It's actually a lot better than a pet convincer or something like that. I'd recommend a pet convincer only if that's your only other option. So for my guys, went out every day. Manny came in and we actually did e-collar work with him to get him into a good space. We did prong work as well. But it's just practice. It's just going out. I think I even wrote some notes of this. What did I say here? Lots of practice, exposure, advocating, and corrections for amping up, right? So just hold on to that. That's kind of like the simple kind of cut to the chase stuff. But the whole thing is like, the practice, the exposure, the advocating, the corrections all have to be done with the right tools so you get the right responses, or else you're just going out and, beating your head against the wall and your dogs as well, and you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to keep getting amped up dogs. So space, start off at distances. Don't try and thread the needle. Don't get too close to dogs. Do it at a distance that you can be successful and manage your dog's state. If you need to do one dog at a time, which is a lot of work, but if your dogs are really bad, then you got to get out and do that. I know you said it's only if they're under threat, like barky dogs and stuff like that. So when you got barky dogs, I'm just kind of jumping all over the place, but if you got barky dogs coming at you, you just need more space. The barky dogs create more pressure and intensity for your dogs and more response, like quick. So as soon as you see a barky dog, a bratty dog, pulling on leash dog, space. Don't feel like you're chickening out. Don't feel like you're not doing your work. Don't feel like you're failing. You need that space, especially initially, to remove some of that pressure so you and your dogs can be successful, so you don't have to use corrections that are of a monumental level to try and break through all that pressure and tension. So that's what I said. I said practice, exposure, advocating, and corrections. Find the right tools. I recommend prong collar and e-collar. If you watch any of our videos, that's what we're using with everybody, and it works really, really well. And then just get out there and just go, and be really determined, and it'll happen, but it can take some time. So anything to add to that little laundry list?
No,
Of goodies? Cool.
Great.
All right, that's
Okay,
it.
question 6. This is from Irene Estrin. Hi, Sean and Laura.
Hi.
My dogs seem to be confused about one of them, about which one of them a command is directed at. For example, when I give one of them the come command and use his name and give eye contact, the other one comes too. What am I doing that's confusing them? Thank you. You guys are awesome.
All right, thanks for us being awesome, Irene. So this is a tough one. This is an easy one to struggle with.
Yeah.
I remember when I was teaching all my guys this stuff, and basically, they're so used to, kind of working as a team or as a pack, and you call one, the others, they want to come to you too, and especially if you're using treats or rewards or anything like that. So what I did with my guys was I went out, e-collar on, taught all the guys through e-collar stuff to where they really were really comfortable and knowledgeable on the e-collar. And then I would start with very small distances, and I would try and actually put them in kind of like locations to where if I looked at one, the other couldn't interpret that I was looking at them too. So create enough space between them to where you can kind of address one, and then I try and do like a very overly it would be like the other dog would be here, and it'd be like, Junior, come, and a lot of body language to entice him. And if the other dog moved, no, correction right there. If Junior was confused or struggling, I might give him a low-level prompt on the e-collar to reinforce, it's you I'm talking to, I want you to come this way. But it's challenging stuff. You have to just do small little bite-sized pieces, bring all the patience in the world, and then correct a dog for moving when they're not supposed to be moving. You might find that you need to really adjust your energy to be way more low key, because if you're to one of the dogs, but you're like, Junior, come, then just that excitement will probably get the other dog to move, which is going to be challenging. So that's what I'm saying, especially when you're building it in the beginning, really low key and really overemphasize, one dog's here, here's the other dog, make sure they're apart so you can address one individually, and then Junior, right? You say the name, come, and that way you can, kind of create more of a distinction about who you're talking to, and then you have to correct the other dog for breaking, and then you do it over and over again, you get a little more distance, then you can eventually get them to where they're right next to each other, and you can recall them out of a line. I've got a video called, it's an old one on there, but it says, I think it's
New Year's Day.
Yeah, New Year's recall with the guys, and it's Oakley Jr. and Bell, and we're doing this exact same thing. And so that basically just came from little tiny daily practicing and just trying to get them to where they could distinguish that, if I don't hear my name, I don't move, right? And but so corrections are involved, slowness, patience, and then being really mindful of your energy to where you don't goose all the dogs up to where they can't make a good decision and everybody bum rushes you and comes charging at you. So that's the best thing that I can suggest for that. Of course, you could also back tie one of your dogs if you're trying to just work with one of them and make sure the other one doesn't close the distance. That's another approach. But so I think that's my best suggestion. Anything
It's
from you?
fancy. I just turned into guys, come.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I think we can get caught up with trying to get fancy, and Laura brings up a good point. But I don't do a lot of fancy. I don't do a lot of fancy, even with dogs that
Cool
are
party tricks though, but
Yeah, but even with dogs that live in homes together that
Yeah.
we get in as double dogs, we recall them together.
Yeah.
We have them pretty much work. They work independently at first, and then they all work as a team, because that's what's life. Life is going to be like, I want you here. And if you want really fancy stuff, individual dog stuff, then that fancy stuff's going to cost you.
Yep.
It's going to cost you time and patience and a lot of work. So hopefully that makes sense, and I can help you kind of get where you need to go. Cool. I think we're here,
Question
right?
7. Yep, Maureen Mancinelli. Hey guys, I love your
Isn't that an
videos.
A at the end?
Mancinelli. I'm reading it straight from Facebook.
Oh, wow, I spelled it wrong. I thought it was Mancinella. Sorry.
We'll see which one's right. Hi guys, I love your videos and they've helped me with my dog so much. My screeching
Thank
pitty
you.
now walks calmly, and my Malinois that would obsessively lick toys or suck on blankets now just lays around calmly. Thanks
That's such
to
a weird thing a lot of dogs do.
suckle.
Yeah.
Thanks to duration
It's like-
work. Yeah. My question is about my Mal. She used to be reactive to dogs on walks, but that's gone away. I'm still having issues with her hyper-focusing on cars.
Uh-oh.
She's trained e-collar and prong. I correct her as soon as her ears get up, but then I get a rubberneck dog, et cetera, et cetera. Do we need to just keep working on this? Basically, when the car is right beside us, she stares and won't look back at me till it passes. She'll feel the stem because she jumps backward every time, but goes back to staring. We tried counter conditioning. She used to lunge at them, so I guess it's better, but not as good as I'd like it to be.
Okay. We were just kind of working on this yesterday with
Stanley of
Stanley,
the Stanley.
even though it's dog stuff.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to answer this one.
Oh, okay,
Do
cool.
you want to take a little stab at this one?
Can you just text your address to Caroline?
To who?
This is Caroline.
Sure.
Yeah. So, okay. This answer may not be what Sean is thinking I'm going to say, but essentially,
I send my offer.
you've got a Malinois that's gets jumpy when he feels the stim, but still looks. So that correction level isn't high enough. So, I mean, dogs can jump, 3 feet in the air. It doesn't necessarily, if it's fairly taught. Okay, so let me preface it with that. If you didn't fairly teach that when I correct you, you look away from the object, and that's something I don't want you doing. But if you fairly
teaching
taught
them
that,
to beat up on dogs again?
if you fairly taught that, and he gets the stim and does this giant display, but then still looks back, it's like the boyfriend who's like, oh my god, I swear I won't cheat on you anymore. Oh my god, I never. And then next night cheats on you, and you're like, wait, but he cried for hours. He must have been really affected by it. And then you're like, wait a second. After the 10th time, you're like, you know what?
I don't believe
I don't
these
believe
tears.
I don't think that this really my firm conversation is that firm for him. So I'm going to make a different choice. So that's what you need to do. You need to kick the cheating boyfriend to the curb, and basically
Kick that cheating Mal to the curb.
you're gonna find a level. You got to keep going up on the level until you find the level that even though you get the display, you're still gonna get a change in behavior.
Yeah, so the only thing I'd add to that,
Yeah.
Hot Button Morgan over here, is to use a little more space initially, right? So, and I know it's not always possible, but even a foot or two, as a car's coming, taking a foot or two to the side away from that can really change your dog's feeling about that pressure. It can be pretty remarkable what even just a little bit of you proactively creating space does to release some of that pressure, and then will actually make that correction more powerful and more impactful, because the more pressure your dog's feeling, the harder it is for them to process the information of the correction and to file it away and get much value out of it. So with Laura on the higher corrections, I'd also add a little more space, being really savvy. Car's coming, do a little move to the side. I'm not talking about running away. Move to the side, just give a little breathing room, and then correct nice and firm for that stuff. You can also practice turning your dog around to where the dog's rear faces the car, which is something we do a lot.
Yeah.
Did with Stanley yesterday.
Yeah, but it sounds Malinois
Well, they're so drivey, and they're so
but they're also
So-
really smart.
and they're also really tough.
Yeah, so you're dealing with a lot of stuff. I would say try going up on the level and just sticking with it. And if he keeps looking back, just keep going. And there's going to be a point. I don't know what levels you're working at, but
he spontaneously combusts. Or...
just go up by 10.
Yeah,
it's not like you're driving from 10 to 100. We're talking like 10, 20, 30.
But you got to get there. Like the whole point. So Laura's not saying jump to 100, but once you find out what levels work in those contexts around cars, you need to get to those levels ASAP. If you find out 50 is the magic number that causes him to do this when cars go by, because there is a level that will cause him to do this and look at you rather than the cars. Once you find out what that level is, don't go every time. Well, I know 50 is this thing, but I'm going to go 10, 20, 30. You're screwed. That means you're missing all those seconds of escalation, and it's going to be next to impossible to bring him back down. So go high early. It's always the same thing. Go high early, not because we're advocating big corrections, but when you're dealing with high, drivey, intense dogs, you need something that will compensate for that. And then lastly, I would say if you want to jump into it, like there's one other protocol, which is crittering. If you want to go to LukeCastle.com, and he's got a bunch of written out protocols for e-collar work, and you could do crittering maybe away from some of the cars. It may or may not help, but that's just something you can check out. Otherwise, just kind of the simple approach, what we talked about, space, higher corrections, earlier and firmer, will probably give you what you're looking for. And that weird thing like Stanley was doing, that eye contact thing where he just looks up, that's the byproduct when the corrections are really valuable. You'll see the dog go like this.
Yeah.
So, cool. Next.
All
right, question 8. This is from Maddie. Hi, Laura and Sean. Reposting my post from last week because she posted it too late. After helping a few people with their dogs, word got out and I suddenly have 5 clients. Told ya.
Well.
So if you guys are in South Carolina and you need a trainer, this is the only one to go to. And you can ask me for her name because that's not her real name.
That's not her real name.
Okay.
She's
So
under the radar.
email me. Anyway, one is an Australian cattle dog that's very protective in the house and has bitten a realtor when he got too close to the dog. I've worked with place with the dog. He got it in minutes.
He didn't want to move out of the house.
And the owner has been practicing diligently. My plan is the dog stays in place with visitors for now in a location away from visitor traffic, but in the room where he's part of the action. Visitors are told to completely ignore the dog. Dog is typically quite friendly once he relaxes. But what would next steps, exercises, so we can eventually be released and interact safely?
Okay. So, Maddie Waddy, I've got a couple notes I wrote down for you because I want to make sure I was thorough so you could rock. So, e-collar work, right? I would only do this with e-collar work. If you're just doing prong and leash, I think you're gonna struggle. These cattle dogs are intense, drivey, and built to go. So I think trying to get through to them with something like a leash and prong is going to be pretty challenging for like real value, moving forward. So I would do e-collar work. I'd back tie the dog onto place, right, to where he can't bite, so where nobody has to be stressed or worried about him being able to do it, but he can still break the command. So enough line to where he can like break and get corrected, but not enough to enclose the distance on somebody. And then big correction for breaking or reactivity from place command, right? So he's back tied, he's on an e-collar, somebody comes in the door and he goes to break or something, you move high and you nail him for that. Like this is like the big correction
show.
Yeah, it's not what we do, but a lot of times a lot of the teaching process has already gone down where people have done like low level training for a lot of the teaching stuff. So now we're talking about like problem solving and behavior mod and some of the kind of like future inhibition training, which tends to involve a little bit bigger corrections. I don't want people to be misled that that's the answer, because when we train dogs, we train them at like virtually imperceptible levels to teach all the behaviors and then move through to the proving process.
The whole thing is that it's all about teaching. If you just put an e-collar on your dog and you're like, oh, Laura and Sean said to go to higher levels, so that's bad.
Yeah.
We're talking about, we do patterning for a long time, that very like imperceptible, like where you can feel it barely at all before you get to the point where the dog understands it. Like just like you going down the freeway, I love this example, if there were no posted signs, like there was no general speed limit and no posted signs, and you could be going like 40 and they pull you over and they're like, sorry, the speed limit's 39. You're like, but I didn't even know. And they're like, sorry, that's really unfair.
Yeah, super unfair.
But if you have posted signs or like general areas, then that's different. There's no gray area. Yeah. So that's the whole thing.
Yeah. So e-collar work, train the dog nice and fairly, make sure the dog knows all the basic commands. That's what I would do. Lots of duration work, like not just when the bombs are falling. Then back tie the dog when you know someone's going to be coming by. Set up the situation for it so you can get the drop on the dog. Big correction for trying to break, and I mean probably pretty big. I want that dog to go, whoo, I don't want to do that anymore. Once the dog clears out his mind, put him back in place, recall him, place, and then work through the process. And that's what I would do. That's it's simple. That's what I'd go through. And maybe down the line, when the dog is an angel and a cupcake with non-reactivity, then maybe you can release him down the line and have people with high value food that just ignore him and just like, yeah, he can get something groovy out of it. But that's like, for me, that's not a part of the initial process. The initial process is, don't do that thing you want to do anymore, so he can have access to different choices.
So he can have access to different choices and be more comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's so much of this is not just being a hard ass for hard ass sake. It's like a dog bites a realtor. Mostly, I mean, you can have dogs that are just like, hey, what are you doing? But mostly it's like, I'm not sure what to do. I'm just gonna. But that's a very uncomfortable state of mind. So by us saying, you have no choice but to sit there, and if you get up, bang, that's a whole different thing where the dog just goes. Just
Moments
like
of discomfort for a
dog.
lifetime of comfort.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
So go kick butt.
I love you. Yeah. Hey, question number 9.
Tans24.
This is from Tans24 on Instagram. Hi, Sean and Laura. I have a question about working on the recall with my 2-year-old bully breed. Currently, our foundation work on place and here commands is great, 99%, so I've been making the distance and duration longer. Problem is now when I give the here command, he jumps back at me at such speed I get bowled over and have to jump out of his path. How do I correct that? I have an e-collar, but I haven't been using it much yet, waiting to get your DVD.
Okay. Well, that puts a little wrinkle in it because I was going to recommend with e-collar work. So typically what we do for that situation...
She has one, though.
Yeah, it'd be great if no.
Go to our free video.
Yeah.
Like for now, I mean, the thing about the e-collar DVD is that it's all in one place. It's higher quality. It's higher
more detail.
value, more detail, all this stuff. You get the PDF. But to start,
There's
if you're
a lot
motivated,
of stuff you could do.
We have 2 e-collar videos on our website that teach you how to teach basic recall on an e-collar. So you can do it like that.
Yeah. So let me jump in because time is tight. So what I would typically do in this situation, because we only do actually recall with dogs on e-collar, just because we always want to have full reliability. So dogs that do that, I mean, it's awesome. I love that they're super excited. But as they come rocketing in, when they're about 10 to 15 feet out, depending on how fast they're coming, I'll tell them to down and I'll press the button. And I'll press the button not on an excruciating level, but a level where the dog can perceive through all that motion and excitement. And I'll say down, and I'll usually press and hold it at a lower level, and the dog will slow down. By the time he gets to me, he'll lay down. And then you do that a few times, and the dog realizes you don't want him to come barreling by. You could do the same thing with the sit. Either one of those. Trying to think, because we don't do any of it without e-collar, that... you could get a second person out to help you out.
No,
you
have an e-collar. Go to our website. It's very easy.
Overridden.
No, it's done. You're awesome. You've got a dog. You're working on stuff 99% of the time. You've got an e-collar in your hands right now. Go to our website. Go to videos. There's free how-to training videos. Don't mess with the other stuff. It's great. You can figure it out.
Okay.
We gotta go.
I've been zipped up. And
Question number 10. This is from
Christine.
Instagram CSteen85.
Yep.
Hi, Sean and Laura, new follower here. My question is how to teach a 10-month-old black lab border collie to follow me on a walk. She doesn't pull, but she's definitely a step or two ahead of me, so that turning isn't always easy. If she needs a correction, lunging after a bird, I do an about face, but she'll resume walking a step ahead or two of me in the other direction. How do I teach her to follow me? Thank you.
Very good question, newcomer. All right, Cesteen 85. Yeah, so here's the thing. It's pretty easy. What I'd suggest is for you to go to our website.
Yeah.
Is the Lola video on the website?
I believe so. The 180s? Oh, and it's not on the website. Go to YouTube for
Okay,
that.
so there's 2 videos I really want you to watch, and if you do them right, you won't have this problem anymore. One is how we introduce a prong collar to a dog and get them to stop pulling immediately or something like that, featuring a dog named Lola. So if you go to my YouTube channel, which is The Good Dog Training, and you type that in, which is how we introduce a dog to a prong collar and get them to stop pulling immediately, something along those lines. And then learn to train the good dog way, the walk, right, which is on the website, but it's also on the YouTube channel as well. Those 2 videos will, like, I know a lot of trainers recommend those 2 videos for people that are having any trouble with the walk. If you absolutely utilize those videos, if you're using a prong collar, if you're not using a prong collar, you may struggle with the dog continuously pulling.
Yeah.
But if you'll just go through these videos, get a well-fit prong collar, check out the walk video. Like I said, it's got like kind of a smaller dog in it. And it just says, I think it is learn to train the good dog way, right? Learn to train the good dog way, the walk. Watch that, see what we're doing, see the position, see how we use the corrections, and then also watch the video with Lola, how we introduce a prong collar and stop massive pulling and 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Those 2 videos will show you how to make all your dreams come true as far as a walk stuff. This stuff's really easy, and all you need to do is follow those strategies, and you'll be rocking and rolling.
Yep.
Do you agree? Anything to add?
No, that's a great place to start, and then
The
get to us for your next steps.
Yeah, and then let us know if you have any problems. So
Yeah.
that's the Good Dog Training is the YouTube
Yeah.
page. So, question of the day. What was your toughest behavior hurdle to overcome? What has been the biggest thorn in your side? What challenged you the most? What did your dog put you through that made you want to cry yourself and sleep at night? Let us know. Always curious, so everybody
Yeah.
else can kind of like compare their
What would yours
their
be?
notes. Mine?
Yeah. Oakley's dog.
Probably Oakley's
Yeah.
dog aggression stuff. Yeah, I mean that definitely was a ton of work.
Mine was polar bears redirecting.
Yeah. A bitey good time. So that's it, guys. We're going to wrap up. Thank you so much for watching. We jammed
Love
through
you.
this one. We'll be in New Orleans for the next one, so we'll have to figure. I guess we'll shoot probably just probably won't be. I don't know if we'll do fancy style. Or we'll just do straight
Yeah.
off the computer.
We'll see.
But we'll be shooting from Nola, so keep your eyes peeled for that. That'll be a nice little exciting thing. We might even have Jeff Gelman
Sure.
on the scene. Who knows? We'll see. That's it. We're out of here, and we'll see you guys soon.
Cool.